Again, I hope everybody's got their lunch, and just no throwing food at me. Money is okay, but not food. We're going to talk a little bit about the CEO evaluation and why we need to support them and evaluate them. The biggest thing is how we do it. That's been the key question is, how do we do a proper evaluation of our CEO? Our only employee is that CEO. Okay? We have to make sure that we have our policies in place that says, well, we're going to do this on an annual basis, which is in the program requirements. It says you will evaluate them annually. But how are you going to do that? We want to make sure that in order to support them as they do their job, we have to have strong tools for it. Be it personnel, physical, informational, and clinical systems. We have to make sure that we have strong programs that they can rely on, strong personnel, set the funds aside so that they can do their job properly. And then the biggest thing is we say, here's the center, it's yours, run it. Report back to us on what's going on. They are the day-to-day person. They have full authority to hire and fire. We don't, other than that position. And if I ever have to fire another one, I'll quit. But again, make sure that you've delegated that authority. If you don't trust the person you have running the show, there's a reason, if there's a reason that it's because of what they know or abilities, replace them or get them trained. If there's opportunities available at every level, be it at state or national level, or they have college education behind them, they have pastors or whatever. Make the opportunity available. If you've got that person there and you know they're capable, they just need a little extra help. Support them by providing funds for them to pick up an extra degree or take a class. And not only with our CEO, we want to make sure that we budget for our management team as well. We have CME for providers. Are we set aside funds for some of our management to take an extra accounting class or HR class or some type of program? We want to make sure that we're providing those tools for them so we can support that person to do the best job they can for us. Okay, again, why do we need to evaluate? We're going to support them the best we can with the knowledge that we have. Using the tools, make sure they have everything. Now we're going to take a look at how are they doing the job that we hired them to do. Okay, in the Bureau of Program Expectations, underneath the board responsibilities, it states the board must evaluate the performance of the chief executive and hold him or her accountable for the performance of the health center. Bottom line, you will do it. And when the vets come in on a site visit or review, they're going to say, when was the last time you evaluated your CEO? And you better have an answer. And it better be within the last 12 months. You can tie that into your contract renewal. And that's normally what a lot of us do. Ours is coming up. Actually, I just got it in the mail, put it back in the mail the other day. How do we do that? With the process, we've got that decided by the board. So we are doing that, and then next year we'll do it all over again. Okay. What do we use to do the evaluation process? Well, hopefully you've got a job description for your CEO. If not, you should. And as Bill just talked about our strategic plan, whatever form it is, you set goals for the operation of that center. And we need to hold that person accountable reaching those goals. And if they didn't reach them, why didn't they reach them? And, was it something that we didn't do on our level as a board to give them additional support or whatever? But that's just another tool. You take a list of all these pieces together, will give you the documents that you can judge and hold them accountable for it. Just like the management team does to the line staff, or the CEO does to their management team, they're using that job description, saying, right, this is what you're supposed to do, are you doing it? And then they're based on whatever their pay scale is at that point. Are they reaching the short-term goals that's set out? They should be doing their own short-term goals. So every year, your CEO should say, well, this is what I anticipate us accomplishing this year in the next 12 months. Okay, we need to make sure we support them in that. But at the end of that year, saying, all right, you said you're going to do this, what happened? Did you make it? Did you not? And you may have some other documents within inside your operation that says, this is what we're using to tell our director what they're doing. And again, any document you have with the challenges or goals for them, use that document to help describe at the end of the year that evaluation. This was just kind of thing. It starts with the job description. Then we go into the board policy. We have a board policy or statement in the bylaws that says we're going to evaluate our director on an annual basis. We've got the goals established of what they're going to do, be it strategic, long-term, short-term. Then we're going to move into who's going to do the evaluation. Is it going to be the personnel committee? Is it going to be the executive committee? Is it going to be the entire board? This is defined in that board policy. And then we're going to ask our CEO to do a self-evaluation. You know, what do they think their weaknesses are that they need to improve on for the next year? Which is always a good point because they may come up with something that, you know, I'd like to need a little more background because we're going into this, right? They've got this program available, you know, I'd like to take that or whatever the case may be. Have them tell us where they feel their shortcomings are. Then the board members complete their evaluation, that group that you've identified. In our case, we use our full board, evaluates our director. Evaluation comes out, we fill it out, we send it back. And then, once all those are tabulated, we got to give the director the results, good, bad, and different. You always want to make it positive. You don't want to say, well, you know, you failed in this area, you failed in this area. You know, you did a great job, but I think we can improve by doing this, this, or this. Or if you get to education in this area, or whatever the case may be. Make it a positive experience. And then, you know, who's going to deliver that? You may assign that your policy may dictate that it's the chair of the personnel committee, and maybe the executive or the president of the board. You know, that's something you call your organization to say, who's going to give these results to the person, and how are we going to do it? And then, once you've got all that done, you start setting your new goals, and it's just a continuous cycle every year. I want to have a job description for the CEO. Any idea? What are some things that you've got on your job description? What they should do, besides the line on the bottom that says all of their duties assigned by the board. You know, do you have a policy? What are some of the things that you've got that's on yours?
Keep the full board informed.
Absolutely. It goes back to the effectiveness we talked about yesterday because you have to know what's going on. Any ideas some things that should be on a job description? Everybody's eating and wants to go home. But if you don't have one, there's resources out there to put one together. You may even want to go to NAC's website underneath their publication tab, and there is a 6 or 8 page document that's put together by Leifert or Jackie Leifert and the firm that has evaluating the CEO, which gives great information, and compare it to what you've got. You know, it doesn't hurt to learn. You know, seasoned board members, like I said yesterday, we never stop learning. I've got pages of notes from everything, you know, yesterday and today. So take those documents, compare them, find out how we can improve. You know, it's always about being better. What kind of board policy do you have to do your evaluations? One, it's got to be done annually. You know, we've already talked about that. Bureau says you will do that. Okay? And this is an example of how some of the things that we're using on our board. Evaluations are sent out to all board members. They're in self-addressed envelope to the chair of the personnel committee. So that way, they're not even coming to the health center. They're going to the personnel chair's house. And when he gets them back, we have a deadline in there. He tabulates them all. Writes down all the comments that are put there of what any board member said about the director. Those are all listed verbatim. And then personnel committee gets together without the director. We go over those so that everybody's aware of what's happening on the personnel side. And then he and I will meet with the director and present those findings to them. So they know what it is. You know, it shows the support. We've got the board there, and a couple members from the board talking about that. Because we score ours on a 1 to 5 scale. So you've got to track it. You know, well, last year you got a 4.7 here, you only got a 4.3. You know, what happened in this area? You know, we want to look at trending on this. Are they getting better as they go along, or are they getting worse? And then, when everything's said and done, the report is presented to the board. The tabulation is showing everything, and our chair numbers them, and he collects them all back at the end of the meeting, so they're not lying around for somebody else to pick up, and they're destroyed, except the one signed copy that goes in our personnel chairs, keeps it, the signed copy, and the other, and the original signed copy is in the director's personnel file. So that way the bureau or somebody comes in, oop, here it is, dated 5/12/2012. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the Bureau will want to see those records. Just
Yeah.
because you say you did it doesn't mean you did it.
That's why you have to have hard copy files.
That's right. They'll want to know. They'll
Yeah.
want to, if they pulled ours out, all of them, and looked at it.
You better make sure personnel files are up to date.
That's it.
And then, so once we get those, all of the individual revaluation forms that came back to him are destroyed because they have our names on it. You know, nothing is identified. It's just here's a conglomeration of what the board said, the job you're doing. So nobody, they're not named. You know, they may have an idea who said what, you know, but that's their version. The original documents, once they're tabulated, every the process is done, we destroy the originals. And then, like I say, we have a tracking sheet that we keep from year to year, so we just add the current years in, so we see any changes in their performance. And then that makes it easier for us to address as a board if we have to make some adjustments or send them for some additional training or provide some additional resources. That's the nuts and bolts of it. I know we went through it quick, and we want to get everybody home. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What's your feeling about doing a 360 val among their subordinate personnel?
You have to be careful because sometimes it gets into a personality match. We have sent this, well, we started a little bit last year. We did do a key management team. CFO, the medical director, you know, some key management to have them see, you know, where their issues. Because sometimes, you know, that might be their only outlet. You know, that might be afraid it's because it's going outside of the center. He doesn't see it or she doesn't see it. But if you get into the average line staff, I mean, you could be a backstabbing, and you know,
Right.
so you have to be careful about that. In your packet, I also included some documents of examples that you can pick up. I pulled these up off the web, and some of the other ones that pulled around because they're just went under and searched nonprofit director evaluations and pages and pages of them. So here's just some tools, but yours should mimic your job description like we talked about earlier. Make sure you've got a board policy in the personnel file, personnel policies on how we as a board are going to educate that director. Yes, ma'am.
By you compiling the results, are you doing that for confidentiality rather than having a subordinate in HR do it for you?
Yes. Well, because they don't need to know what everybody says about the director.
Okay.
But it also takes that conflict out that, you know, they might want to change something. We've got an impartial group that, you know, we're controlling the process.
Is the final evaluation being maintained in the executive's office or in the personnel?
In the personnel file. So you've got limited access to that personnel file as it is.
Okay.
Not everybody on staff can get to that. You know, and you have to trust your staff, but we do have the results of it based on job description and goals that we set forth.
Second question,
Get right with you. Go ahead.
can you discuss bonuses for CEOs?
Well, again, you know, if you do your evaluation at contract renewal time, you may want to tie in when it comes to setting their salary for the next year. Are they performing according to what we feel they should be performing and they're doing? You may want to increase their salary based on that. Or you may want to say, right, you've done a great job, instead of increasing your salary, we're just going to give you X number of dollars. It's up to the board's discretion. The biggest thing is make sure that we're paying them adequately for the position in the climate that you're in. We brought in a consultant several years ago because we felt our director was underpaid. Some of us on the board. But being the conservative group we were, some of them didn't want to increase the salary. So I got permission from the board to say, hey, I want to bring in a consultant. I've already got a ballpark price from them. What would you charge me to just to do a rough salary evaluation for our CEO? And it was less than $1,000 at that time. And he goes several different areas to get this, so it's not just that it prepares FQs from not only Michigan, nationally in different places. He did the legwork, and because he's the outsider, it carried more weight than if I had done the same thing. And so we've used that document to get them up to scale, and then every so often we do an updated salary range, so we make sure that we're tracking our cost of living indexes, so we stay within the right range for the area and the position. So we can make sure that we're fitting into the bonus. We don't want to overpay them, but we don't want to underpay them. And their bonus might be extra time off. I'll get with you just 1 second. Ryan, you had something?
Yeah, is there anywhere where if we have a significant event where it calls in question his or her ability to continue to lead, is there somewhere where we can bring back or come back and revisit the evaluation, or maybe do a midterm evaluation?
That's up to each individual board. You could put in your bylaws or your policy that you want to do a CEO evaluation no less than annually. So I mean, you can do it every 3 months. It's totally up to your organization and what you feel. There's nothing wrong with says if you got an issue, we need to take a step back and look. At that point, if the issue is severe enough, you may want to put them on notice and send them out the door back. So don't be afraid if we have to do it earlier. Just say, hey, we're going to take another look at this issue, and we'll get it resolved, in 3 months. But it's up to your organization and your board what you want to do. Yes, sir. You had a question.
Yeah, we had some other board members that was coming, but they couldn't come because of some serious problems. And we want to be, I noticed that there's some of these handouts left. We think this information is important. We'd like to take some of the extras. If we can. That's okay?
Yeah, and I would tell you the other thing, if there are extras, because I don't want to give it back either, they've got all these things on the computer. They can also email these out to you if you need an extra copy, or feel free to copy it.
Yeah, we plan on putting all the presentations on a website so you can go and download whichever ones you'd like and print out multiple copies if you'd like as well. So I'll be sending out an email to the listserv. If you're not on it, let me know.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Does that include the roster as well? Will that be on PDF, the roster?
Yeah, I can upload that as well.
Yeah, the roster is nice because, we've got to know different people that we're a resource for one another. I mean, contact information is very, mine's on the presentation. Feel free to let me know if you need something. If I can't find it, I know most likely where I can find it directly to that source and get it for you. Nothing else. I want to make a couple closing comments before we take off. First of all, I want to thank all these young ladies for all the work that they've put in. We'll give another round of applause. This is 5th or 6th year we've done this, if not more, and it just seems to get better and better and better. Yes, sir.
David, I think you mentioned it earlier that I think it's absolutely crucial that at least the chair of the board and the CEO are very close.
Correct.
And work together constantly. That's what happens in ours. They're together nearly daily.
Well, I had one person commented that you're glad I made it yesterday, how close those two positions are, that we were accused of being in cahoots. But there was days our former CEO would beat me to my office, and so so that's one of the reasons part of we ended up not doing his contract, because he was there 2 or 3 times a week. So it kind of sends off the red flag. But yeah, that's how we support him. We're the sounding board as the board chair to that position, and that's a close relationship in the communication we have between the whole board and how they interact with the board. I know that's imperative because we rely on them for the information because that's our contact to and from the center, the day-to-day operations. So, thanks, Harry, for reaffirming that. Evaluation forms, if you haven't filled it out, please do so. Leave them in the box. If you want to recycle your name tag, put that out there. We appreciate comments on the evaluation because that's how we improve this. I want to thank again all our presenters that did a great job for us this week. It's a lot of fun. Now I got to put a plug in for our annual meeting. Andre talked about it yesterday with the fire in there. So make sure you put that on your schedule. It's a Christmas amount. Travel costs are inexpensive compared to BC. But the other thing is, at that meeting, and I know Marcia's right here. Marcia is the chair-elect of the Health Center Board Members Committee. This is a committee that was formed many years ago, and now we have worked to where we have 2 seats on the Primary Care Association Board of Directors. And it wasn't without some controversy in its early years. It's, and Larry's been through it, Marcia, and a few other ones, myself, have been through these chairs. Marcia currently sits on the full board. Come August, at that annual meeting, she's moving to the executive committee. Every one of you as a board member are members of this committee, and that will meet on Sunday at the annual meeting. So, we'd like to have your participation because it helps Marcia and as she moves into the chair spot and the new chair will be elected at that. Kind of see, what do we want to work on next year when it comes to meetings like this? Workshops at the annual meeting, the legislative forum. We need that input from each and every one of you. And so, again, we talked about all this. We've got resources out there. We've got each other. We've got the Primary Care Association, NAC, with all the information going out and coming from Congress. If you're not members of these 2 organizations as a health center, go back and ask why we're not and how can we become one. I got to give the plug. I'm on the membership committee for NAC, but that is a key because all this last round of capital grants, if it wasn't for the NAC staff being on the Hill, we wouldn't be in the position that we are today as a movement. So, just kind of wrapping everything up, we've had so much information come together, from the finances today, the strategic planning, and you can see how it all intertwines. The more we know, the more we can be informed, make decisions, makes us more effective. So I think if you can take anything back, how important it is to share with your other board members that we need them at these meetings to learn. And if you can't make it to the meetings, get a hold of the association and Adrian. They'll get somebody there to go over to your meeting, at your convenience. The resources are there. Take advantage of it because it's low cost or no cost, and we can do that. So with that, unless you young ladies have anything to say, I'd like to have a safe trip home.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you again for everybody for attending. It's been one of the largest meetings I think we've ever had of this group. So it's fantastic to see so many faces. We will be coming back to the H Hotel again next year. Woohoo! And I will keep you all posted on that date, so be checking the listserv and you can mark it on your calendars now. There's some food left over. Feel free to grab a box for the road. If you have not already done so, I see lots of pink sheets out and it warms my heart. There is a box in the corner. Feel free to grab your name tag, leave it in the box with your evaluation form, and any final questions or discussions? All ready to go? Okay, travel safely, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.